Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. I'm Tristan and Cooper. Sitting beside me is my brother from another mother, my friend, my compadre, Cooper. The Juice Box Melter. Cooper, how we doing, baby?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Tristan. We have a great episode coming up for you today. And, I think someone we all know is going to be on the show.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Man, I'll tell you what. A certain L.A. Pendleton is going to come on the show. We had Coach Des last week. Now this week we're going to have Lauryn Pendleton. It's going to be fun. We've kind of made a lot of noise within the women's basketball team here lately ever since we came back from our hiatus. But, Cooper, it's going to be a lot of fun talking to Lauryn Pendleton about her season.
It is. Everyone, they're talking about Izzy Higginbottom. She's a great player. But, I love just talking to Lauryn because she has that defensive mindset coming to the game. Not many people pride themselves as a defensive player like Lauryn does, and you're going to see she's all about defense. She's like the Tony Allen. She doesn't care if she has 10 points or 20 points as long as she maybe has 5 steals. That's the way she wants to play.
Yeah, Cooper, like I said, we've gotten a lot of athletes on the show as of late, and I'm very fortunate and thankful for those who have came on the show and those that will come on the show at a later date, because you never know who's going to show up on Red Wolf Roundtable.
You really don't know. I mean, we might have Hal on next week, all we know.
1 week, we had Coach Des. Then we made our ESPN debut. Now we have Lauryn on the show coming up later, and you never know. Coach Hodson's potential guest, C.J. Pepper, former Arkansas State basketball player, basketball legend, I may say. But, it's going to be fun.
It is.
We're making a lot of noise. It's only taken us 3 years to really get people on the show. So, flashback to when we had Norchat on the show.
Yes.
But it's going to be a lot of fun. The women's basketball team, they're on a road stint coming after their game against Georgia State, which we'll dive into later. Now they're going to Akron to play in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge for the second time this season. Basketball season about to close. Baseball's right around the corner, opening up against Omaha.
Okay, Peyton.
Yeah. But, like I said, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Since we have a little bit more time, I just want to talk about after the game win over South Al last Saturday. I saw Coach Rogers in the hallway locker room. She's about to go do an interview, and she stopped me. I said, good game, Coach. Gave her a fist bump. She stopped and looked, and she said, you know what? What'd I say? She said, I told you so. I said, I came on the show, and I told you what we're going to do, and we did that. It was just a great moment. She looked at Izzy and Anna and was like, hey, I went on their show and told them y'all were going to win.
Yeah, well, like we said last week, Coach Rogers, friend, we love Coach Rogers. Hopefully she can come back at a later date. But we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, you'll see the exclusive sit-down with Lauryn Pendleton right here on the Red Wolf Roundtable.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
Hello and welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. I'm Cooper Melder. Alongside me is Tristan Harlan, and in the middle is Arkansas State's very own Lauryn Pendleton. Lauryn, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good today. It's been a light day. I haven't really had class too much today, so it's pretty cool.
Okay, we're going to get right into it. From this time last year to this time this year, where do you think you have improved most in your style of game?
I think the biggest thing is my intensity on both ends of the floor. I mean, I think a lot of that comes with maturity and just being exposed to the game, and especially being exposed to different situations at this level. And I just think that that's a big thing for me on defense, which really carries over to my offense. Because if you look at the games, a lot of my, I guess, more efficient points come in like transition. So that's what I think, just intensity on both ends.
Right, and looking at it from just where the season is now, how do you think you're doing as opposed to maybe what you think should happen for the rest of the season?
Right now, I just think the biggest thing, really just for me personally, is just being efficient. I mean, yes, I'm scoring in double figures, but if you look at my numbers as well, it's kind of like the other day I was 5 for 15. I feel like it was a lot of those shots and a lot of those layups and free throws that I just feel like me personally, I just should have made. Because, I mean, it's easy layups and, I mean, free throws, I'm not even being defended. So.
Right.
Has it been tough trying to transition with a whole new team? A bunch of transfers have come in. Has it been tough to find that chemistry with the team at first?
No, I don't think so, because we really worked hard in the summer and we really spent a lot of time with each other in the summer. So I think that was one of the big things Coach Des wanted us to do in the summer, especially in the preseason, was for us to gel and mesh and to get different groups and rotations in practice so that by the time this time for season, it's like we're not trying to play catch up like we did last year.
Right, and just looking at you from just as a person as a whole, you do a lot of things outside of the women's basketball team. So what's kind of been the adjustment factor for you to be a student athlete but also have a life outside of that as well?
I would just say time management, and I think that Coach Des does a great job with allowing her players to have lives outside of basketball, because that's really a big thing for me too, because I mean, eventually that ball is going to stop bouncing and I have to have other other hobbies going on for myself. So I just think she does a great job of allowing us to be actual people rather than just looking at us as just players. And
Coach Des, speaking her big motto is nets ain't free. So what does that really mean to you when Coach Des is preaching nets ain't free in the locker room?
Basically, we're paying a price to cut that net at the end of the season. Like, we're paying the price. She's holding us accountable more this season, and we're really just really intense in practice, because I mean, those things show in the games. Like, we're paying that price, whether it's on offense or defense.
Right, and you're kind of one of the veterans in the locker room for this team. You've been here your whole college career. So what's really, of course, win the Sun Belt Conference, but what's kind of the end goal for you when it's all said and done?
I came in having some personal goals for myself. One was, this isn't really a personal goal, but I want to win a championship here, of course. But I'm creeping up on that 1,000 points, and that was one of my biggest goals coming in the college, was to get 1,000 points in high school and college. And I mean, I already got freshman of the year. It'd be nice to get a player of the year, a defensive player of the year. But those three things are really the biggest things I wanted out of this whole experience.
Right.
You don't have to answer this question, but I'm just gonna mention it. Last game you showed you were mad at the ref, so to say, and did a little side swipe at the ball. Was it just mad at the game, or were you just frustrated with yourself personally?
Oh, no, I did that out of retaliation for what she did to me first.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not that type of player to just do that out of frustration. When I heard the ref call a foul, I'm like, I'm confused. And as I'm turning, she hits the ball out of my hand first.
Okay.
So I'm not just going to let
You're
you
not
disrespect
gonna throw
me.
the first punch.
Yeah, I'm not going to just let you
Okay.
disrespect me and get away with it. So when I had the opportunity, I hit it back out her hand. I'm not just going
respect
to
it. I
walk
respect
off
it.
and think stuff is sweet.
Right,
It's
and
not
you,
happening.
yeah. I mean, you talked about the 1,000 points. You talked about wanting to be, possibly a defensive player of the year in the Sun Belt Conference, and it's kind of been, at least from my personal eyes, the biggest thing from your freshman year to now is your defensive game. So, what's kind of been the conversation of maybe you and Coach Des, or maybe you and Coach Ness, or even you and Coach Rudy, that's kind of been like, okay, here's how you can achieve better defense. What's kind of been that talk?
Well, me personally, I'm already a competitive person. Like, somebody scoring on me, it just kind of irritates me anyways. And really just in the summer, especially from last year to this year, they really just broke down a lot of film and showed me some areas where I could just improve, or I could be that much closer to a closeout or that much closer to a steal. And I just really I was coachable. And I've really just been, that's kind of like my thing now. Like, I like guarding the best player on the other team. And like I said, I'm really competitive.
Right.
For me, if you could say anything to the student body out here that's watching, what's the reason they should start showing up to the game? Because we've been trying to preach all year long, show up to y'all's game, show up to everyone's game. What would you like to say to the student body to get them out there and to support y'all?
Support women's sports, women in sports. I mean, I'm gonna just say, like, we're great players.
Yes.
Like, there's no, oh, the guys are da-da-da-da. We're great players, and we put on a show every night, whether it's win or lose. We have great players, and we're gonna compete every day.
Right, and I guess my last one for you, Lauryn, is kind of what up to this point has been your favorite moment of the season?
Ooh, favorite moment. I'm gonna say the win over North Al. One, because it was my birthday, and two, because we just really had to like grind that one out, and it was like a battle of who wants it more. Like who's gonna battle to the very end to get this one, and I feel like we just did a great job. And it was my 21st birthday, so it just made it even better.
There we go. Lauren, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. You have a big game coming up tomorrow. I wish you the best of the luck. And you know what? Just thank you for being on the show. All right, that's all we have for this segment. You've been watching Red Wolf Roundtable. We'll be right back after this.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. We hope you enjoyed that interview with Lauryn. I know we did. Again, thank you, Lauryn, so much for being a part of the show.
Yes, it was a great interview. I'm glad she was able to get on the show, talk a little basketball, because obviously she knows a lot more than we do, because playing the game and all. But, they had a big win against South Alabama, but like you're seeing in the graphic, a bad second quarter against Georgia State, and free throws cost them a win against Georgia State.
Right. In the Georgia State game, it was a really high competitive game throughout, and, it kind of went alongside the same time as the men's game. But in reality of that game, you just got to look at it like this. It was a head-to-head combat, but you just got to hit your free throws in the clutch. You do. And we're talking about it. The second quarter woes. We only had 6 points in the second quarter. We were up 20-12 at the end of one. And then when you only score 6 in the second and 8 in the fourth, you're not going to win many ball games losing by 2. Right. And you really just got to look at the stats to really understand how this game really went on the stat book side of things, because in reality, when you're shooting 10 out of 15 free throws in the game, that's not what the Arkansas State Red Wolves are capable of doing. We've seen games where Izzy has hit 14 to 14 free throws or 14 to 15 free throws. So reality is yes, you lost by 2, but there's still a lot more Sun Belt Conference ball games to play. And I hate to say this and sound like an idiot, but when it comes to these regular season Sun Belt Conference games, they're just kind of glorified practices for the conference tournament.
Yeah, you're basically fighting for seeding, and you're looking at the stats, 16% from 3. When you're shooting 4 for 24, that's not the type of team we usually see from the Red Bulls, because when you go out there, you expect you have Anna Griffin knocking down her shots. You have, Even sometimes you see Izzy, she's the main character out there shooting threes. And Winter Rogers, she can knock down her shots when she's confident. She needs to build that confidence, and I feel like those 2 missed free throws at the end of the game has been showing she just doesn't have really too much confidence yet to play being a young player.
Well, yeah, and I raised that, and I kind of want to challenge you on something, because you're talking about Winter Rogers kind of solidifying her role, but you got to realize not every player on the team can go out there and score like an Izzy Higginbottom can, or go out there and score so many three-pointers like Anna has done in the past. Like, this team really needs that piece that can get those rebounds, get those passes off, really be in the dirt, kind of elbow grease it out to where you're setting up those second chance points, where you're setting up key defensive rebounds so the offense on the other team aren't killing you when it comes to offensive rebounds and getting those second chance points off. I personally think where Winter Rogers is right now is where she needs to be as a player. Yes, her free throws need work. Yes, maybe she can score maybe 2 to 3 more points a game, but in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to the game of basketball, I have no sense of worry for Winter Rogers, because with her getting 14 rebounds in this Georgia State game, shows you when conference tournament rolls around, these teams like Southern Miss, who they had problems with last season, you're not really going to see those problems anymore. But my biggest thing is the inconsistency of Anna Griffin. Anna Griffin went from hitting, I think, 4 or 5 three-pointers here at home in that big win to only scoring 5 points against Georgia State. Now, I get basketball is a game of runs, and you're only going to score so many points each game. You can have good games, you can have bad games. But one of the biggest sort of things is going back to the second quarter, when they're only scoring 6 points. You want to see some of your teammates that aren't seeing the floor as much as an Izzy Higginbottom get those key shots and get those key buckets to where you can really rely and get the pressure off of Izzy inside the stretch.
And the only thing, I'm glad Winter, she did her thing. She got 14 rebounds. That's what we know about Winter Rogers. She's going to go up. She's going to get you rebound after rebound. She's like Dennis Rodman. The only problem I have is shooting 6 three-pointers. She's not a three-point shooter. She can hit the open shot, but shooting 6 in a game and going 2 for 10 from the field goal, we just can't have. We need her to be able to get rebounds and assists. Because like you said, not everyone can score like Izzy. Not everyone can be Izzy, get into the paint every time. But if we can have Winter get 14 rebounds with 8 points from in the paint, that's where she needs to be. She doesn't need to be outside on the arc shooting 6 three-pointers a game unless she has a heat check.
Well, and you talk about three-point shooting, but look at it from a whole team standpoint. They shot 21 of 58 from three-point land, and they only shot 2 of 11 in the second quarter. But here's the biggest thing, and this is what I kind of want to stress when it comes to this team, is they're very inconsistent on the road. I mean, there's not more you could say about on the road woes. I mean, that you just got to be better. You have to be better on the road. You have to be better in a neutral site, because when the conference tournament rolls around, you're not at home.
Nope.
You're not at home. You're in Pensacola. But we're going to take another short break, and then we're going to come back and talk about the JMU loss for the men's basketball team right here on the Red Wolf Roundtable.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
When you say experience counts, it's experience that counts for a lifetime.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it, quitting was never an option. Exhausted, this passion is never exhausted. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it. Quitting was never an option. And you cannot stop it, nah, you cannot stop it.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. And Cooper, talking about some key players.
Yes.
We forgot to mention the Women's Player of the Week for the Sun Belt Conference, and that is Izzy Higginbottom.
Yes, it was announced this past Monday that she won Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week once again. Shout out to Izzy, but Tristan, we're not done with the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week because on the men's side, Caleb Fields was announced. He won Player of the Week for the Sun Belt Conference, as well as our Red Wolf Roundtable Player of the Week. He averaged 24.5 points these past 2 games, along with 10.5 assists. So, yeah, shout out to those 2 players.
Yeah, and I do believe it's the first time in Arkansas State basketball history that they've had both a women's and men's conference player of the week at the same time. I'm sure someone could fact check me on that. But looking at the men's side of things for just a little bit now, they played James Madison in one of the biggest crowds in First National Bank Arena, and I do believe Brad Bobo said about 7 years. So reality is what a tremendous atmosphere that was for the Arkansas State Red Wolves. And James Madison, they're no cupcake game. It was a really high octane game, and unfortunately we weren't able to get the win. But a lot went wrong in that first half of play.
It really did. You're looking at the final score, it's 77-73. You're thinking, well, the Red Wolves, they only lost by 4. But if you weren't at the game, you saw how terrible the first half was. I mean, we couldn't hit an open shot to save our life. I mean, if you put the basketball team on the beach, I don't think they could even hit the ocean. It was just that bad. But, they did turn around in the second half, but it was one of those games. They got down 14 early, and they just couldn't claw their way back in because, like you're saying, James Madison, they're not a cupcake team. They're not a team you can get down 15, 20 points and make a comeback because when we would make that comeback, James Madison, they're a well-coached team. They know what they're doing. They would find the open shots and just keep clawing away at that lead they had, and they just kept it. And when you're shooting 18% in the first half, you're not going to win many games.
Right, and it really posed the question of how that first half started. Some of the woes, and is Coach Hodson's first year finally starting to crack underneath that pressure of the Sun Belt Conference? I mean, and no discredit to him. He's a great coach from the SEC, but you've got guys like Terrence Ford, Malcolm Farrington, and a lot of other guys that are hurt that you're not seeing action on the court this year. And now, just looking back at last game, DeAndre Dominguez, he rolls his ankle, is able to get the block on the other end, come back, get the three-pointer, and then he has to sub out because he's just in pain. And here's my thing with this, is if you're this far deep in the season with the conference tournament this close up and coming, you cannot risk your star player getting hurt. And look, I get it. DeAndre, he's a workhorse. He wants to be there for his guys. But in this stage of the conference schedule, you just can't. It's not worth the risk to have someone like him out when you're playing a first-round team that's looking to run on that Cinderella story in the Sun Belt Conference. Because let's be real, DeAndre Dominguez has been the most impressive player on the team this year, except for Caleb Fields. Caleb Fields, he's no stranger to being successful. We've seen it all his time here at Arkansas State. But when it really mattered most, it really posed the question to me, is Coach Hodson overworking his players?
I don't think he's overworking his players because against James Madison, they got down 14, and he probably challenged them in the locker room saying, y'all played terrible. I mean, if you're looking at the stats of the first half, there's no way, the fact we scored 22 points in the first half was ridiculous, but that first half was just absolutely terrible. Turning over the ball, it was silly turnovers that we don't see from Caleb Fields at all. 77-73. You're looking 30% from 3, but it was one of those games that was like, why do you keep shooting the threes if they're not going in? I get that's your bread and butter. That's what you want to do, live and die by the 3. But when you're dying by the 3 in the first 3 minutes of the game, you got to switch up your game plan.
Well, yeah, and I made the point that it seems like this team was on cruise control in the first half. They were taking a lot of shots they shouldn't have been taking. Darian Ford probably took, I think, 23s in that first half that he only made 6 of.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
He was wide open for most of them, too.
He was wide open. He just couldn't connect. And then Isaiah wanted so many lobs. They were trying to be the Lob City Clippers, and it just didn't work out for him. And then Taron Todd played his usual game, being kind of that ball-first mentality, wanting to score as many points. But against a team like James Madison, you know, we've heard Butch Jones say it when you play guys like Oklahoma and Ohio State. You cannot have too many costly mistakes, because one costly mistake is equivalent to 10 costly mistakes against an opponent like that. But I do want to take a minute to step away from basketball real quick, and I want to announce something here on the show.
All right.
I talked to Brad Bobo this past week about the new up-and-coming NCAA football game.
Yes.
It is coming,
Yes.
and Arkansas State is heavily involved in it.
Okay.
And from what I can say, the Arkansas State Red Wolves will be very, very well represented in that game.
Okay.
So if any of the Barstool accounts, any fan pages wants to clip that portion of the show off and upload it to their social media accounts, feel free to. But like I said, in the new NCAA game coming this summer, it is 1,000% coming, and Arkansas State will be very well represented in that game.
You know what? I'm excited. I can't wait to, take over the head coach area and rebuild the Red Wolves and take
Jalen Rayner for Heisman, baby.
Yes, Jalen Rayner for Heisman, but we got a game this Saturday.
Yes.
And to me, we're playing Ohio Bobcats, but it's a pointless game this deep into the season to play a MAC opponent that really won't have any effect if you win or lose. It's one of those games you almost want to just not even play your starters.
Right. Well, Coop, I'm looking forward to that game. Hopefully the Red Wolves can get back in the win column, get some momentum going for the rest of the conference season, and go into the conference tournament. But, Coop, I think it's time we say goodbye, farewell, good night. Everybody, we hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Red Wolf Roundtable. Remember, like I said, Arkansas State is in the new college football video game. It is coming this summer. Stay tuned for more here on Red Wolf Roundtable. I'm Tristan, that's Cooper, saying goodbye here on ASU-TV.